G'day everyone, what a week we've had, eh? We've seen Bitcoin to 100K, we've seen Crescendo upgrades, we've seen Pectra upgrades, we've seen Trump doing deals in the UK, we've seen green all over the market, we've seen altcoins pumping, we've seen meme coins pumping. Everyone's been really positive. Everyone feels like the bull run's here. Let's see how we go. Let's jump in though and have a look at Bitcoin. So if we take a look here, we can see Bitcoin currently at 104K, up 9% for the week. So we can also see the market cap is currently 3.4. So moving up to 3.5. It started the week at about 3, so that's good to see. Bitcoin dominance is flat on yesterday. If we look at Bitcoin, we can see, and we're looking at the 7-day chart here. So we started at 95.5, and we can see we're at 104.3, say. So that's a 9% move. So that's really, really positive, right? That's really good to see. For Bitcoin on the 30-day, we're up nearly 30%, and on the year, we're up 70%. So strong performance. So the 2 trillion market cap. And what's driving some of what we're seeing in the market? Well, look, we know the Bitcoin ETFs have gone pretty well this week. BlackRock, their IBIT, I think, did about 90 million for the week. We know that we've had some really positive regulatory news. We've had the Trump deal with the UK. We've had things like Crescendo for KASPA, which isn't driving, but good news for the market still. We've had Pectra for Ethereum, which is good news for the market as well. Continuing to keep that drive. We've seen some really good news from the states. We've seen some really good news from the states with New Hampshire, with Arizona, even though the first bill in Arizona got vetoed by the governor, that second bill got up, which is again retaining those crypto assets, not buying more with taxpayer funds, but it's a step in the right direction. So we're seeing some really positive news, some positivity in the market. We're seeing some more liquidity coming into the market with that growth in the overall market cap, which is good to see. We know we've got some money stabled up at the moment that we're looking to see that come back into the market. I mean, if we just look at some of the signals, we can see the fear and greed sitting around 70, same as yesterday, but well up on a month ago. Really good news there. But one I want to call out to people is the RSI, right? So if the RSI is over 70, generally it means that Bitcoin's overbought. So my question is, at 75.7, let's call it, are we going to start to see a bit of selling? Are we going to see a bit of a pullback, maybe a pullback to that 95, 98 range? I mean, that could be interesting. Now, that's something we should be conscious of and something we should be looking out for. I mean, trading volume has been strong, so that shows buyer interest, as we know. So one I really like to keep an eye on, because we have a lot of people talking about where is Bitcoin going to land by the end of this year. Now, if we're in the 4-year cycle and they go to trend, and as prior years have, which I feel we are, I still think we're going to have the peak of this bull run in the back end of this year. If that's the case, if I'm looking at this, I'm saying, well, realistically, 2011 in here, okay, it peaked at band 12. We've then got the 2013 peaking at band 10. So you can see that just here, band 10. We then had 2017 peaking at band 8. 2021, I would call the peak, the earlier one, which would be around May, April, May, and that peaked again at band 6. So they're going down 2 bands at a time, which to me would say, look, if we're going with that trend, I'm saying we're going to finish around band 4. And if we finish at the back end of the year, let's say it's in November, around November time, we're going to be at around 200K. So going by the logarithmic regression rainbow, I would have to agree that we could get to that number. Are we going to? I don't know. No one knows. I'm still feeling like we're going to be somewhere around maybe the 150, 160, which could see June, July-ish time would fit with that. But the longer we go before we hit that top, obviously the stronger chance is we're going to hit that 200. And definitely if we're still running in the bull run, there's every chance going by this chart, we're going to hit around 200K by the end of the year. And for the month, we can see we're up in the month. We're at 8% for the month overall, but the month's got a long way to go. So, you know, we keep on this trend. We should finish above April even. Now, we'll have a look at CoinGecko in a minute, but one of the big things probably a majority of people are interested in, yes, Bitcoin's great. It's great to see it grow. We know we need Bitcoin to grow for the altcoins to grow. And we know that we needed that dominance to get where it got because we want to see some of that liquidity trickle down. Maybe slightly different due to the amount of funds that is moving into ETFs. I don't know their cycle is going to be the same because normally it goes like Bitcoin into Ethereum, into other alts, into degen, back into Bitcoin. Sort of it's a bit of a cycle. So will as much of that liquidity that's flowing out of Bitcoin flow into the other altcoins and meme coins? Not sure if it'll work exactly the same as other cycles, but it will definitely follow that format, I believe. And if that's the case, we'll see a lot of these stronger altcoins run first. So I think your Ethereums, your Swedes, your Solanas, your Cardanos. I still think that KASPA will be strong, especially if they can get their smart contracts in June. And then flowing into the memes, right? So then if we just have a look at CoinGecko here and we have a look at Ethereum and we look at the 7 day, because today is our weekly review of the markets. We're going to look at weekly data. Ethereum is up 37%. Now let's go through this top 100 and just see where these coins are. You'll notice like there will be very few, if any, that are in green. And we don't talk about stables, obviously. But you know, let's look at some of the big ones. You've got Ethereum at 37% up. You know, XRP, they're all up. Solana at 20%. Doge, and we'll touch on a few memes as we go through this. Doge at 34%. You know, Lido, 37%. Sui, nearly 24%. Avalanche at 23%. You know, Shiba, another meme at 23%, let's call it. Hyperliquid's at 20%. Polkadot, good to see a bit of movement in Polkadot. Remember, that got up to like $50 in the last run. So, and a lot of tokens have been released in that time, but it's good to see some movement for the holders of Polkadot. Pi is very new, but that's 63, so that's huge. Let's continue. Pepe, look at that, like nearly 60% for the week. Uniswap at 40, Potenza at 30, Near at 33. Like, this is what we begin to see in the bull run. These are the numbers that you will see regularly when we're in this bull run. So, you know, signs are pointing to a potential start. Definitely both the macro environment that and everything that's happening there and just what we're seeing in the tokens themselves. VeChain, that's at 20. Athena's at 39. Like it's Arbitrum, 46. Celestia at 31. We got World at 34. Bonk, another meme, 36. So it's Jupiter at 32. We're just seeing big runs here. Optimism is doing well. Immutable X Gaming. So there's not a whole heap of gaming in this top 100, but if gaming runs, and that's one of the ones that's lagging a little bit at the moment, so there could be some good opportunities in gaming. Injective, having a nice move. Like, yeah, look, the graph, again, Theta, 46, Lido, 36, so massive, massive. Now, anyone that watched yesterday's video will know that I was looking at the categories and I noticed memes. So I spoke a bit about memes yesterday and the categories because I want to do the categories once a week now because we're starting to get into that movement where we'll want to look at what categories are moving, what's the next one to jump. But But I spoke about memes. Now, if we look at memes today in the category, we can see memes here, number 14 in the categories. So now on the 7 day, it was 17 point something or whatever it was yesterday. We're now at 31.5% for the memes. And we just saw with like Doge, Bonk, Trump, you know, they were all moving. And obviously, let's have a quick click on it and just have a look at what's happening in there. Like, look at these numbers, 34, 20, 60%, 36%, you know, 59 for whiff. Even Floki at 36, you know, 48, 39, Pudgy Penguins, Brett 48 as I said. You know, PopCat 43, MogCoin 107, 116 for Peanut the Squirrel, like 60 for Toshi, GigaChad's 53, Darku, which I haven't looked at, it's 97. So we're seeing some big moves in these. And look, as I said, some of these, they'll take their turn. So, you know, I've got on that chart, if you watch yesterday's video, like 10 or 11 main categories that I watch. Now, I think RWAs is one to really keep an eye on, as long, well, with deep in gaming and the layer ones and whatever, but RWAs is one to watch. Now, we just had news as well for the RWAs, you know, that we've got Ton Foundation launches 500 million Telegram RWA bond fund with Libra. Like, so obviously real world assets, BlackRock's big on it. It's the tokenization of the real world assets. And if we look in the categories, again, we've got meme at number 14, and there's lots of little ones, but I sort of look at the big ones you can group. Like I'm not worried about 4-chain themed or wrap tokens, you know, so. But if we're in here, number 20 is real world assets. Now, current market cap is 43 billion. The category itself is up 13.5%. So normally we'd say, Ripper, that's looking good. But, you know, memes are up 31.5, as I said. So, but let's have a look at the real world assets. And what do we have in there? What should we be keeping an eye on? Chainlink, we all know, is an oracle. It's a solid project, you know, but the ones that are getting a lot of noise are things like Ondo, getting a lot of noise. Algorand, that's also an ISO coin. Quant, ISO, like, you know, there are some really good opportunities if you do your research in here. Ravencoin's been around forever. Whether it's good or not, and I mean, I'm not looking at it. But yeah, look, there's heaps of them, heaps to choose from in here. A couple of the lower ranked ones like Rio, you know, you might want to take a look at. But again, these are going to be strong. Ondo's one I'd keep a close eye on as well. Like I think there's good opportunity in that. Chainlink and that, these higher ones may not get as much return out of. You know, you're looking at 10 billion, you're looking at 9 billion. Ondo, which we know is BlackRock backed, it's going to get adoption from institutions. So at 3 billion might be a safe bet with a bit more upside than some of these others. But yeah, at the end of the day, there's lots of opportunity still out there. It's just picking through and finding those little nuggets that are there that maybe haven't pumped as much, or the category or the narrative hasn't pumped as much. We're only a week, right, of having some good results. So there's a lot more to come. So have a look for those nuggets. And you think about it like, what do we have coming up? Well, we know May 13, we have the CPI data coming out. So keep a really close eye on that. You know, if we see that of inflation dropping down, we could see some good opportunity for the risk assets like crypto. We then have another Fed meeting. I think it's like 17th, 18th of June. So that's going to be one that we're really interested in. So we've got a couple of things coming up in the next, you know, 3-4 weeks that we really want to be keeping our eye on, because it could really dictate at least the shorter term market for crypto. You know, and the big question is, you know, is BTC going to make it to 110K by the end of June? You know, the optimists would say there's a really good chance. So, but are we going to, with the RSI being, you know, with it being oversold at that 74, will we see that pullback before then? And maybe we hit that after June, or are we on our way now? You know, I don't know, but the RSI is saying we're oversold, so you could see some pullback, maybe that 98, 95 range, maybe not, but it's something to keep in mind. But there'll be a lot of people now, and you'll see people come out of the woodwork, you'll see the bulls come out of the woodwork, you'll see the hopium, you know, even if we get to 200 by the end of the year, let's all be aware there is going to be pain between now and then. Every bull run sees it. You know, you still get those pullbacks. You can still get those 20% pullbacks. So you've got to be conscious of that stuff as well. So look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of positive news. We've got the ETF flows. We've got, you know, the deals with the UK. We've got things to look for, such as the May 13 CPI. We've got the Fed rate coming up in June. We've got the states, more states starting to adopt, you know, these Bitcoin reserve and passing bills. And there's a number of states, as we know, where they're in progress. So there's that stuff to look forward to. We've got a lot of analysts now predicting 150, 180, 200K by the end of the year, those sorts of numbers, you know, so there's positivity coming back into the market. You just have to see that watching, you know, jump on X and have a look. You can see that sort of stuff. Look at what people are posting on YouTube. You're going to see some of that stuff. But look, that's the weekly wrap up for me. Now, if you got value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that like button, smash the subscribe, and click the bell notification so you get notified when I release my videos. I'll see you in the next one.